Alright guys, let's come back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far the seedings are set for Major 1 in Dallas, and after a remarkable month of action here in January, there was one team that have gone 5-0 this month after making a roster change. Exceed has turned the Ravens round and their run continues. Are they the best team in the game right now going into the Major in Dallas? They took down Thieves again today in remarkable fashion. That makes things real spicy for the Major. Lots of talking points, incredibly difficult to call things today. The seeding, however, after some important games for it, has been locked in. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Bit of a scuffed day on the broadcast today. Nobody's going to deny that. The storms across much of the US have affected things, preventing everyone getting there in person. The broadcast was suffering as a result in terms of quality. Thankfully, the second game of the day made up for that to a certain extent. But yeah, there were certainly some moments. It was one of the broadcasts of all time, that is for sure. Now, Heretics. They were a very interesting team last season. They made a lot of noise with their roster, with ReeaL in the team. They brought in Lurqxx. Wasn't their fault. ReeaL got poached, right? Got taken away by Toronto. They, of course, were very much relying on this series to do them a solid because, as we said, after getting 3-0'd bad yesterday, Toronto were on the verge of not making it to the winners bracket. They were going to start the Major and losers. That would have been a disaster given the expectations for that team. Thankfully for them, Heretics could not push it to 5, and as a result, they will start in the winners bracket. But, you know, starting in winners is one thing. Starting as the worst possible seed in winners is another. But maybe right now it doesn't really matter, given the strength in depth, you could argue, and how just difficult it is to call right now with the teams that have actually made it to the winners bracket. Gentlemates get the job done game 1. Miami had a really good early start, then they squandered it. The second game, Rencor had a nice little 1 versus 2 here to put them up 5-2. Eventually the series was tied up as a result of this play. Can Heretics ever get to the level they were at last season? I think this is the question. This time last year, they were not in a dissimilar spot, really. They were okay, but not great. It was when they brought in Super that they really turned it up. Rencor was pretty good earlier last season. They were okay, but as I say, nothing particularly special. When they brought the Super change, that's when things really started to turn in the right direction for them. They don't have the option to do that again because they've already got Rencor and Super. What other change are they going to make? Probably nothing. So, you know, I still think Heretics can do some damage at some point, but yeah, it was always difficult going into this season to imagine that they could be as good as they were going to be, you know, as they were last year. That season felt like it could be a slightly positive outlier, but we'll see. It's still very early days, and the league is incredibly competitive. So yeah, big scam for the Gentlemates. Don't really know what, of course, Simp was doing in this gunfight to even give himself the opportunity. I mean, like, I don't know where this guy's up to, but yeah. So anyway, Simp scams that one. They do win the series anyway. I'm sure that Toronto were thinking, oh my god, Sim, are you serious right now? Like, you're going to throw that one away and maybe give Heretics the chance to take an extra map and push this the whole distance. But no, Gentlemates, they get the job done. They got over the line. Envoy had a really good series, and I think that was, again, one of the key talking points. I mean, here we are in January. Envoy typically goes pretty well at the start of the season. I think it's happening again this time around. He had a good final couple of maps of this series, and they get the job done. It was, yeah, you can see the frustration from Rencor, right? Slamming the desk. I don't know if you can see any of the... I was wondering if, like, when he slams it, you can see the other cameras on the other guy's monitors move. Not really. So he slammed it, but it wasn't like he shook the desks to the core. But you can see his own camera wasn't very happy about it. It's good to see the passion, right? I think there's nothing wrong with that. But Renkor's got to be in an interesting spot because it didn't feel like long ago, I imagine, for Rencor and for Super and for Metals, but you know, they were fighting on the business end of tournaments, and here they are, losing a very important map. If they just won this map, they would have been in winners bracket, but because of the map count implications, but because they lost and they couldn't take it to 5, they start in losers, Toronto start in winners. And it's going to be frustrating for Rencor because there were rumours, as we know, that he could have been on his way to FaZe. There was a rumour that FaZe wanted him, but Heretics, they couldn't agree the buyout or whatever. So maybe that could still happen in the future, but for now, it's not ideal. Neptune says GG's, and that guaranteed first seed, right? So that was an important one for Gentlemates as well. Them getting the win in the way that they did made it impossible for FaZe to catch them, despite the result they had at the final game of the day that we will get into. As Envoy says, GG's Coin Miami, first seed for the Major. Thought this was all rather funny. And what a result, right? I think the Gentlemates fans are going to be real happy about this. Are they favourites for the Major as the #1 seed? Possibly. I mean, it's tough to call right now. It's incredibly tough to call who the favourites are for the Major. It's so wide open. I don't know if I really remember a tournament quite like this. Look, the first tournaments of the season are often difficult to call, kind of unpredictable. Some teams that you expect to be good aren't, and others that you don't will be good. That has happened before, but the way that this qualifier run has gone has been pretty unprecedented, and it's just so impossible to call who the favourites for the major are, right? I genuinely don't know. So Gentlemates get the 5-2 record after a 3-1 win. And it was Super with the 1.17, not good enough. Envoy, Neptune, they were in the positive. Great series out of Envoy, nearly 100 kills over 4 maps. Not bad going at all. This, however, was undoubtedly the series of the day, and it was expected to be. Thieves, I thought they looked pretty good against Boston. I know that they went game 5, but I actually think they played some pretty good stuff against Boston. Certainly in some of the respawns, they were kind of undeniable. And Thieves have started, I know they lost the series, but Thieves have started to show us glimpses of what this team is capable of when they put just an insane amount of pressure on the map and they're just winning all the gunfights. We've started to see stints in some of these maps from Thieves, I think OpTic shown us a little bit, I think Gentlemates have shown us a fair bit, as have maybe FaZe. I think Falcons and even Ravens, to be honest, Ravens have also shown us just periods, 2 or 3 minutes here or there where they're just unstoppable. And we've seen that from Thieves last season especially, and we've started to see it again with this Thieves iteration. They've clearly taken a bit of a step. Now, not to say that Thieves are all of a sudden number one, major winners, whatever. I think they can win the major. They're one of many teams that can win it. And what was remarkable about this series is that Scrap got slammed pretty bad, and HyDra continues to be in a really strange position. Whenever you watch HyDra's POV, it looks like he's fried, but you look at the stat line and he's still struggling to put pieces together. So getting Scrap and Kenny to fry at the same time, getting aBeZy and HyDra to fry at the same time, that continues to be a big challenge for Thieves. But I think that Thieves fans, I don't know, intrigued to your thoughts in the comments, but I think if you're a Thieves fan, yeah, you lost today, but I think you can come away from this series with a decent degree of confidence for the major, that the team is moving in the right direction. The remarkable thing in some respects is that Kenny was, at least after map 1, he was the hard carry. He was the one putting the squad on the back, at least to a degree. aBeZy was really good as well. HyDra had his moments in the overload. But it was a strange series in many ways. But Ravens, when they're firing on all cylinders, they look very, very tough to stop. The pace that they play at, this is the type of map you just don't want to play Ravens on. Ravens on Blackheart is a recipe for getting slammed right now, given the way that they play. I mean, Exceed, it's so crazy, the Exceed story. And it's such a great story for the scene this year. The Burger King, after all the stints that he's had in the league that didn't go to plan, he finally gets the opportunity, and he was fortunate to get the opportunity. It was actually thanks to Thieves that he got it, because they were interested in Neum, and therefore they decided to say, hey Neum, we're interested to potentially sign you, and therefore he said, alright, I won't go to the Ravens, and that's why Exceed got the opportunity. And here he is with 2 minutes in the hill near enough double positive against the Ravens. I mean, Scrap and HyDra combined nearly had fewer kills here than Exceed did in the map 1. And this was the scoreboard. HyDra had 20, Scrap had 16. They had 36 combined. Exceed had 32. What a map from the young man. So, he's doing it all. I think Miles called him, His Majesty or something after the whole Burger King thing. And then in the search, Thieves, they should have won this map, to be honest. They trolled both of these searches pretty bad, especially because Thieves, it's actually been their search which has looked better lately. But, this is remarkable. Nero's in a 1v3, and HyDra's dropping a one-way smoke at his feet to kind of cheese it. And Nero eventually gets caught, but it's just kind of shows the state of things when HyDra's dropping the smoke cheese, because they needed the round win here. Exceed made a pretty nice play in the search, staying in the water. He killed Scrap, but Kenny got the trade. That was enough to get over the line near enough. But then we had this moment where Nero, getting a little bit of revenge on HyDra from earlier, guns him down point blank range, 1v1 with aBeZy, and a few seconds later just rips him off the heady. There were 2 crucial gunfights. This was one of them where aBeZy got ripped off a heady, and there was another one, a more difficult gunfight to lose actually, later in the series that we'll get to, which was absolutely critical. But Ravens won the first two maps, and all of a sudden the arguments were, hang on a second, are Ravens the best team in the game? Like, are they going to win the major? Now, I still want to see them on LAN. I'm very impressed with what they've done. As I say, the level that they can play at right now, if they could do that all the time, they would be a serious force. On LAN, the veteran players will say, this playstyle isn't going to work in the same way. It's going to, things are going to slow down slightly, you're going to get caught. That's what some of the veterans will say. Until we see it, we don't know one way or the other. What we do know is that the team has improved dramatically, and it's a fantastic story again here in Major 1, Ravens being a force out of nowhere. However, they're not invulnerable, and I mean, the next two maps were a Thieves masterclass. They absolutely slammed them. Craze got pissed on both maps bad, and crazily enough, really, this was the Kenny show on this Overload map here on the Scar. Kenny was cracking up. The team seems to be having a great time, Thieves. I know that they were also cracking up map 5 and they lost, which is never a good look, but it does feel like the vibes on Thieves are in a much better spot. Yeah, they lost today. I don't think they're too mad about it. They're confident that going into the major, they can still get the job done. So the whole team was giggling here, really. And then, well, you can understand why. So they go up 5-0, they go up 6-0. Kenny had a couple of crazy moments. He guns down Craze right there. He's got the pistol because he's got the device. He finds a little gap through to potentially get a score in. He hits a 360 for the score and then spins on Nero coming off the steps. So, yeah, we certainly had some moments in this series. And then they absolutely slammed them on the hardpoint as well. It's like, okay, wow, Thieves are back. HyDra started off like 2 in 7. He was doing nothing, but Craze was also getting turned on. So Thieves won this map comfortably. And, just goes to show Ravens are far from unstoppable, right? They can be beaten. They were taken to game 5. But in the game 5, this is when Ravens started to deliver. Craze had a great start. He bounced back out of nowhere. And then, would you believe it, down 2-0, and in a 1 versus 3, it was Kenny who was called upon to get the job done. He gets the trade onto Lurqxx, he guns down Craze off the heady, finds himself in a 1 versus 1, Xyz doesn't quite read it right, and Kenny gets the kill. Huge 1v3, keeps them alive in the map, and then they do properly start to bring the comeback. Kenny clutches another 1v1 later on, because HyDra gets traded by Xyz here, Kenny picks up the pieces. But this was like the gunfight of the series. aBeZy was in a 1v2, he got the kill onto Lurqxx, and then Xyz is in this position with aBeZy on the head glitch, and Xyz just rips him clean off the heady to make it 5-4. And then, kind of out of nowhere really, Ravens go on to win the series. So, yeah, just a bonkers result, because it looked like it was all Ravens after the search, then it was all Thieves, and then it was a Game 5 round 11, and it's a Ravens win. So, there was a lot of talk actually, because if you look at the the cameras here, it looks like Thieves have won. Kenny's smiling, aBeZy's smiling, HyDra's got a bit of a grin on his face, and the guys on Ravens that don't look too happy. So it was very confusing, like, what had actually happened here. But no, Ravens did take the victory. Again, I think this is kind of a byproduct of both teams knew they were in winners. They knew they were in a solid position, just trying to get some good reps in for the major. But it's a big talking point regardless. It does feel like, though, Thieves have gained a lot of confidence in recent weeks. They could have easily won today, and had they won today, they would have ended this split 5-2, which is pretty respectable given how much flack this team was taking not long ago. aBeZy says, wow, can't wait to play on LAN. I think Thieves should be really good on LAN. They've figured things out a little bit. I'm not saying that aBeZy, HyDra, Scrap Kenny's working perfectly, but Kenny was getting a lot of hill time today. That seemed to be working for them. And so, yeah, Xyz says, we're going to hell, but I'll call game. GG's Thieves 1-3-2. Burger King GIF. Here we go. So, yeah, Thieves go down. The Burger King 1.09. Nero with a 1.15. Craze had a terrible series. Really, okay. Map 3, Map 4 was awful. Apart from that, though, Map 5, Craze did the damage. So, when it mattered, he did turn up again. But, yeah, what a series. Just very quickly to mention, these were what the standings looked like before we went to our final series of the day. Surge were always going to lose, FaZe were always going to win, realistically. So we weren't sure, though, what the seeding was going to be as a result. FaZe did the expected. They slammed them 3-0. There's really not much to say, so I won't. And we'll just quickly talk about the final scoreboard, which was as follows. yeah, it was bad. Abuzah 1.4, Simp 1.5, and these, therefore, are the final seedings. So OpTic end up in the 6th seed. We'll discuss tomorrow what this means in terms of implications for the bracket, winners and losers, but yeah, I'll just say it's going to be pretty spectacular. So hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.